everyone. This is Marc Kramer. I am the host of Asian Founders and Funders. Today, our guest is Marina Tran-Vu, founder, CEO of Equo. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Yeah. Wonderful. So glad to have you here, and thank you for taking the time to speak with us. And what you're doing is fantastic for the environment. So let's get started with you telling us a little bit about your company.
Sure. For those of you guys who have never heard about Equo, Equo is a sustainable brand that provides 100% plastic-free and compostable products like straws, utensils made out of materials like grass, rice, coconut, sugarcane, and coffee.
Awesome. And when did you start this company?
I started this company about 3 years ago in 2020.
3 years ago in 2020. And did you put your own money into it, or did you raise outside capital?
I put my own money into it, and then I ran out of money, and then I raised money.
Nice. And did you, were they angel investors or venture capital?
They were a combination of both. So all my investors were from the US, Canada, Singapore, and Indonesia. And most of them were angel investors with 3 institutional investors.
Wow, congratulations. And what was your selling point to them? How did you go and approach them, and what made them provide the capital?
I would say the number one reason, and not trying to be, think too big of myself, but the number one reason why they invested, that they all said, was primarily because of myself as a founder. So they thought that there was something about either my energy and my passion that was very interesting. The second was probably the fact that the way I positioned the company was quite different. We go both retail as well as B2B. So we go B2B and direct to consumer. And we have an amazing design on our product. It's eco-friendly, sustainability. And on top of that, we have the most variety of materials of any brand in the world. So a combination of all those things, plus I checked all the tick boxes of female, sustainable, minority founder. So that really helps too.
I'm sure, but you have a great concept, or they wouldn't put the money in to begin with. Did you write a business plan when you started, like to get this business started, or did you just jump in? How did you think about it and put a plan together?
So originally this was not meant to be a startup. It was just like a side business for fun, because I was doing something else on the side. And then afterwards, when it started to become something a little bit more of a business, especially when we launched onto Kickstarter, that's when I started to build up more of a plan.
And so then you put together a plan. What did you do before you started this business?
Before I started this business, I worked as a brand manager. So I was in brand management, marketing, product launches for companies like Unilever, Bacardi, and LG.
Were you educated in the States? Because your accent sounds very American.
No, I'm originally from Canada. So I'm from Vancouver, Canada, but I worked in Toronto for 8 years. I also studied in Korea, and I worked in Hong Kong as well.
And what brought you to Vietnam?
So what brought me to Vietnam was actually primarily personal reasons. My dad got sick, so I came over to Vietnam to help him. I was only supposed to stay here for 1 year, then go back to my life in Canada, but obviously that didn't happen.
Wonderful. And lucky for us that you came here for sure. And how have sales been? Have they been growing steadily?
So in our first year, it was quite good given the fact that we sold only online. The second year, we basically almost 3 times our business. And then in this year, we're going to grow about 60%. So it's been volatile, I would say, because of a lot of the economic factors. But overall, we're still growing. So that's better than most can say right now. So we're very lucky.
What's been the biggest surprise to you as an entrepreneur? Like, this is your first entrepreneurial venture, correct?
Yes.
And what's been the biggest surprise that you had not expected?
How hard this would be.
And you thought people would buy in right away? What's been the hard part of doing this business?
The hard part has not actually been the selling. The hard part has been dealing with the stress of running out of money, no sleep, trying to pitch for money, trying to keep your company alive, trying to make sure you pay your staff. Yeah, trying to deal with the ups and downs of the business, trying to deal with employees suing you, people trying to sue you. Yeah, so basically all those things were probably the most difficult things so far. It's a hard journey. It's not easy being an entrepreneur. It's not fun.
How many hours a week do you work?
So I used to work, I couldn't even count the hours. So I used to be able to only sleep about 3 or 4 hours per day. Now I sleep 7 or 8 hours, which is great, but that's because I've hired a team now. But before, for about 2 years, I only slept for 3 or 4 hours a day.
I can relate to that from doing my own ventures, and I'm still only sleeping 5.5 hours a day. So who has questions here? What questions would you like to ask? Yes, right over here.
So my question is that I think that sustainable plastic alternatives are usually more expensive than traditional ones. So are there any specific strategies that you have done or any initiatives to make sustainable choices more accessible and affordable for users and also enterprises that offer like food or drink?
Yeah, that's a great question. So you're correct. Sustainable products are a lot more expensive, including ours. We actually position ourselves as a premium product in the category. For us right now, honestly, it's not about trying to make it more affordable for everyone. We're looking right now primarily for the early adopters or for the people who really care about sustainability first. Once we can get those in and we can get enough volume from those specific customers who are willing to pay that premium first, then we can lower our costs and make it more affordable for everyone. The strategy later on will be to make it more affordable, but that's just not something that we can do right now to get it to match the price of plastic or paper.
We have a question from the audience. What was your story behind founding this? And how are you able to find a market for your business?
Great question. So the story behind this was when I first moved to Vietnam, I had no friends. So I went to a lot of cafes because I didn't know anyone here. So I spent a lot of time in the cafes because there's so many around Vietnam. When I went to the cafes, basically I found the grass straw in my drink. And I had never seen this before in my entire life. I thought it was very interesting. I basically Googled it, and from Googling it and finding out more, that's really how I started the business. I was just very curious. In terms of finding the market, honestly, a lot of it was trial and error. So when I launched the business, I actually launched it onto a platform called Kickstarter, which is a crowdfunding platform. And I had targeted Canada, US, and Australia first. We got amazing sales in the US. And so I found out that that was a market that that worked for us. But I also found out later on that Australia and Canada weren't growing as quickly and that Vietnam was also a viable market. So a lot of it is trial and error. A lot of it was I knew the US market, I knew the Canada market, I knew the Australian market. So that's why I sold there.
Question here.
I have a question regarding the materials. Do you have a lab for R&D for your materials, or do you base on any research, or do you collaborate anyone on doing the materials?
Yes, so we collaborate with our partners who basically take care of all the manufacturing. We do a lot of research on the sustainable materials. They have to meet certain criteria that we require, which includes they have to be compostable, they have to have certain certifications, they have to be certain amount of durability or quality, they have to be able to be shipped, customized, whatnot. So we do a lot of research on that part, but we I'll leave the manufacturing production part to our partners, who are third-party suppliers.
Question here?
Hi, Miss Marina. Thank you for coming to the show and taking your time out today. I have a question about networking. I have a question about networking as an entrepreneur. So, as an entrepreneur, how do you make connections, and how do you find connections that can benefit yourself, let's say your personal development or your career path? Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I'll say two things. The first thing I did very early on in my career, this is when I was in third year university. I was living in Vancouver and I wanted to go to Toronto to work because Toronto is considered the really big city. It's like considered New York in Canada. And I didn't know anyone in Toronto. So what I had done back then, which I think you could still do now, is I just messaged 30 people whose job I wanted or who I aspired to be. VP of marketing, CEOs, brand managers. I messaged about 30 of them. And I said, hey, I just want to meet you for 30 minutes. If possible, I want to get to know a little bit about the industry. Would you be able to spare your time? If you are a student and you are asking that, I guarantee you a lot of professionals would be more than happy to meet with you because you're a nice, cute student. So out of the 30 people that I had messaged, 7 of them came back to me. And one of them ended up hiring me later on at my first job at Unilever in brand management, in my dream job. So that's how I would maybe start off with networking, is just put yourself out there and just try. The worst thing that can happen is someone says no or doesn't reply to you. So that's the first thing. The second thing is you can do what I did when I first came to Vietnam. And when I was starting Equo, you had to build a lot of relationships in the community. But what I would not recommend doing is, for me at least, is going to networking events. Do not go to these networking events, because if you think about it, the people who are going to these networking events, for the most part, are other people who want something from you. So the way I had actually met a lot of people was just through very, very organic experiences. It was through friends of friends. I would tell someone about my business. They're like, hey, you should meet this person. Or I would just go to a cafe. And honestly, what I would do is I would just talk to random people because I had no friends. So I had nothing to lose at that time. So I just talked to a lot of random people. And some of the random people I talked to turned out to be CEOs of companies, turned out to be, director of sales of certain companies. And that's really how I networked. So the biggest kind of common theme here is just put yourself out there. It's okay to be rejected, right? We are rejected every single day. Men are rejected twice as many times as women, but women still put yourself out there. Okay. So it's okay to be rejected. Just keep on going.
Excellent. Here we have another question right here.
So what are your concerns towards the market competitions, and how have you resolved such problem? Because I've heard that you've started your industry pretty late in 2021, and previously there have been many other companies that have taken part in the journeys of eco-friendly materials. So how have you been taking into account competition?
Yes, great question. So when I took a look at the industry at first, I did some market research. And what I saw in terms of market research was about 90% of all, let's say just take straws, 90% of all the straws on the market were plastic, 9% were paper, and 1% was anything else. That means bamboo, stainless steel, metal, whatever else it was. So I saw that there was obviously a huge opportunity for growth in the market because there's only 1% that was sustainable straws. The second thing is that I employed a strategy that was very different from everyone else. Like I mentioned, everyone else it's a commodity segment, so everyone was trying to go for the lowest price possible. I said, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go for higher price, but higher quality. And on top of that, I will invest in the brand, the design, the communication, the story, And on top of that, I will invest in educating the customer as well. And all those in combination, like hopefully you guys see it behind me, but this is our packaging right here, here. All that is our packaging. And we invested in that because no one else would, because everyone again thought this was a cheap product that no one would care about. So we went and we did the opposite. So that's really how we kind of stood out from the competition, is that we did the opposite of what everyone else was doing.
Here's a question, I'm thinking it's from one of my female students. Is it easy for a beautiful and intelligent woman to enter the business world and potentially be judged on her abilities?
Yeah, it is. It's easy. Okay, so I'm gonna caveat here. Okay, first thing is that if you're a woman, leverage all the skills that you have and leverage every asset you have, whether it is your looks, whether it is your charm, whether it is the fact that you're more, in touch with your emotions, leverage it as much as possible. You will get a lot of people, and I've had this experience, a lot of people who judge you based off of your looks. I used to have pink hair, and then I had purple hair, then I had blue hair. And a lot of people did not want to talk to me. But the people who only judge you based off of your looks, you don't either want to do business with, or you don't want to be your investor anyways. So they should only care about your business and your results, because if a man can walk into a room in a t-shirt and shorts and present $1 billion business, so can a nice, beautiful looking woman with pink hair. So it's easy, but it's also hard if you are judged right away. But it's very easy to kind of bypass that and just ignore all the people who judge you based on your looks anyways.
How many of your investors are women?
One out of my 9.
Because I created a program in Philly called Women Founders and Funders. I've been running for 7 years. And it turns out it's harder for women to get other women to invest than it is to get men to invest in women. I mean, that's what I was consistently hearing, that there's not really the wall stopping women from raising capital. 20 years ago, it used to be a question, especially for someone your age, what if she has kids? Will she still be able to run the business? And now 2 generations of women have showed they can chew gum and walk at the same time. So they're able to have kids and go and build a great business. Do you see any kind of barriers for women entrepreneurs now?
I will be honest with this. I don't see as many barriers as I did potentially 10 years ago. So 10 years ago, I saw a lot of those barriers when I was a young Asian female working in the corporate world. I don't see that as much. And honestly, I don't even see that very much at all in Vietnam. I think Vietnam is one of the most progressive countries when it comes to female leaders and entrepreneurs. Now, with that being said, something I am seeing is similar to what you actually mentioned, is women preventing women from succeeding or supporting other women. I have seen that a lot, and it's unfortunate. It's not always the case, but there is that existing in quite a bit. The second trend I've seen is in women telling other women that they should feel victimized, that they should be like, you need to be aware that, everything is against you. The men are against you. People don't want to invest in you. I really don't think that helps the conversation. If you're a woman entrepreneur, know that you have challenges just as much as men do, in certain cases, just as much as people in other industries, but do not use that to say, oh, you're not investing in me because I'm a woman, or I'm not this, I'm that. Do not do that. Instead, turn it around and try to learn about the things that you can do to go ahead and get investment. So one thing, for example, is I've encouraged a lot of female founders or entrepreneurs to not try to copy men. When we are women and we try to copy exactly what men do, we come across as a woman trying to be a man in skill set and how we talk and whatever else, like in how assertive we are. Do not try to do that. Be a woman, be assertive, but be a woman. Leverage that. And so that's something I just want to say on that topic.
what entrepreneurial qualities do you think, and this is a question from the students, what entrepreneurial qualities do you think everyone, even people who don't wish to be entrepreneurs, should have?
Okay, so the first quality I would say that you must have, whether you are an entrepreneur or not, is this idea that you have some sort of purpose. You have to have a purpose in your life. Whether or not your purpose is to be the best teacher possible, the best soccer player in the world, or whatever else, you have to have purpose. If you don't have purpose as an entrepreneur or a person, you don't have direction, you don't have motivation, you don't have achievements, you don't have success. So you must have a purpose. If you want to be the best like coffee maker in the world, make that your purpose. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing, the second quality you need to have is to be very unjudgmental. So be very open and don't judge people. Because what's actually happening nowadays is people spend so much time judging other people that they forget to be happy, and they forget to really like understand like what it is that's going well in their life. So I've seen this with a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of business people, is what they tend to do is say, oh, you know, she didn't deserve that promotion, or their product launch was really stupid, or, you know, that marketing plan was terrible. Instead of focusing on criticizing other people and judging them, focus on what you can learn from them. You can say, hey, it's really cool that she tried to become a volleyball player, but she didn't get there, but she's doing something else for her life. So stop doing that. And then finally, the last thing is always have an appetite to learn. So whether you read, whether you take courses or whatever else, because if you stop learning, you stop growing. So those are the 3 skill sets that you need to have as a person in general, in terms of profession.
All right, we have a question here.
Okay, so first, I must say that I really like your sharing today. I think it's real life experience that can actually inspire us. And for the questions, actually I have 2 questions.
Please.
Yeah, so I have looked through your profile and I find that you have experience in so many fields, especially in brand marketing. So I wonder, how can you define like the key message of the products or service so you can like make a great connection with the target audience? And the second question is about your team management. Like how can you actually function the team and like, you know, create a sustainable connection with them?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the second question. I heard the first question, but I didn't hear the second one.
Yeah, my second question is like, how can you connect and like work effectively with your team?
Okay. So the answer to your first question is in terms of like a message. So I take a very opposite approach, which is before you figure out what you want to communicate to the world, right? What you have to try to ask yourself is a couple questions. So like in these questions, what they're called is like a hypothesis. So what do you think like a customer would want, or what do you think a customer would think? And try to see if that's correct or not before you try to create your message. So for example, with our brand, I thought my hypothesis is that people will want and really like to have 5 choices of straws: grass, rice, coconut, sugarcane, and coffee. People will like that because I don't know anyone who's done that. I don't have any proof that anyone will like that, but I don't have any proof that no one will like that. So once you have your hypotheses, you go out and you test it. You ask people, you do surveys, and then that way you'll be able to understand yes or no, do people like this? Once you can confirm people like it or want it, then you start to build out your brand messaging. That I started this company because I wanted to give people 5 different choices or more choices than they needed in straws. And they said that they wanted it because they all like different materials, whatever it is. That's what you have to do before you create any sort of key messaging. So that goes with everything. On top of that, there's a couple things you have to figure out too, which is how you want to tell that message as well. And also what channels you're going to use in order to tell that message. So most companies, they might have some visuals, you might have some content or whatever else. You have to figure out which is the best way to communicate that message and how you communicate that. Are you happy? Are you sad? Are you serious? Whatnot. So that's how you figure out kind of the brand messaging part. Hopefully that helps. That's a very short rundown of it. On the second part, how I built a team that would connect that with that message. Honestly, I just found people who I knew already from working with them before, brought them onto the team. They liked the sustainability part, but what they really liked was the go-to-market, the brand around it that we were building. They really liked that first, and then they cared about the sustainability. And that's pretty much the most part for all the people that I've hired on the team. They cared more about certain design parts of it than they cared about sustainability. And then they started to care about it later. So.
Are you running a virtual company or is everybody on site?
It used to be in person, then we ran out of money and there was COVID, and then we went online. Then after COVID was over, we now do hybrid. So it's only one day mandatory in the office, which is on Mondays. And then the rest of the week, they decide if they want to come in with their teams or not.
And you're in Ho Chi Minh City?
I'm in Ho Chi Minh, yes.
And so all your employees live in Ho Chi Minh City?
They do. I actually had a few from Hanoi who actually moved down to work for our company. So.
Oh, cool. Okay. Question from student.
Hi again. I have another question. So with a busy schedule, how do you keep yourself sane? What is your approach to work-life balance?
So I've learned this very, very early on. Because I used to not have any work-life balance, I learned what you have to do is you have to schedule it in your calendar. So I actually have something in my calendar that says I have to go to the gym every day, 7 a.m. So I have that in my calendar. And I have a routine too. So you'll hear about this actually on a lot of different podcasts and a lot of interviews with CEOs or entrepreneurs, is everyone has a schedule. That means you wake up at a certain time, you eat at a certain time, you do your exercise, and then you start work. So now I wake up around 5:45, 6 a.m. in the morning. I have half an hour for myself. Then I go work out for 1 hour. I walk my dog for 30 minutes. Then I eat for about 30 minutes to an hour. Then I start my work at 9. So that's pretty much, again, what you're going to see for a lot of different CEOs or executives is they have a set schedule in order to do what they want to do and then go ahead and do work. That keeps you sane.
I have the same set schedule as you do. I get up at 5:30, read a little bit, go work out, come back, get to here, and then do the teaching, but then I have my own entrepreneurial ventures. And then I'm up until like 11 or 12 o'clock at night, and then starts the whole thing all over again. 6 days a week, take off Saturdays.
Yeah, I mean, I don't do it on Saturday and Sundays, but I have the same schedule on Saturday and Sunday. It's like I wake up the same time, I don't sleep in, I do all that. So 100%.
Same here. How do you continue, a question from the audience, how do you plan to continue contributing to local economic growth and sustainability efforts in Vietnam while scaling your business internationally?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I mean, a lot of our products are produced here. So I think it's an easy question. As long as we expand our business overseas, then we are creating more jobs and more needs for products to be produced here in Vietnam. That means we're creating more jobs for people. And then also, if my business grows, my team grows, which means I hire more Vietnamese people. Basically, every single person on my team is Vietnamese, except for one person, which is remote, and he's my CFO in Canada. That's it. But everyone else, all the other 19 people are Vietnamese.
If somebody said to you, is it worthwhile starting a company in Vietnam and why? Why should somebody come here and start a venture?
So I guess there's two parts to that question, but I'll answer kind of one first. Why someone should come to Vietnam is the costs are very reasonable for starting a company. In terms of labor costs, in terms of manufacturing costs, it's very, very reasonable. It's a great place to start. Second, if you are a Vietnamese citizen, which I'm not, I'm considered a foreigner, but if you are a Vietnamese citizen, you have a lot of benefits. You actually have a lot of grants and resources to access. So I think it's a great place. And then third, it's the entire entrepreneurship community is really developing. It used to be very underdeveloped, is developing a lot more now. And there's a lot more support from VCs, from entrepreneurs, and from the government. So that's why you should come here and start it. But should you start a company? My answer would be, if I could do it all over again, I would never start a company because it is so hard. If I knew what I knew, I would have never started the company. But I've already started the company, so I got to keep going.
Totally understandable, and congratulations on your success so far as you're continuing to do this. So one of the questions the students ask, walk us through what it was like to go raise an outside capital. How did that all work? What did you say to them? How did you make your pitch? How long did it take to close the investors?
Yeah, so I started raising money in January of 2021. I had no idea what I was doing. I did not know any of the terms. I did not know what an angel investor was. I did not know what a safe or a discount. I didn't know what any of that was. I went into the meetings asking them what these things were, the investors. So that wasn't a good strategy. That's how I started. Then I asked a friend of mine who had run a startup for like 15 years, what do I do? He mentored me. He taught me a little, some stuff. And then he introduced me to an accelerator. That accelerator basically taught me a lot more basics. And then from about, I would say April of 2021, all the way to April 2022, I spent my entire time raising. So what I did was I pitched everywhere. I pitched like, online, in person, on Clubhouse. I don't know if you guys remember that, but I pitched on Clubhouse. I pitched wherever possible. I applied for every single competition, whatever possible. So I pitched there. I pitched on Shark Tank as well. So I got into that show, which was great. Yeah. And so I basically was raising for 1 year. And after that 1 year, we were able to raise 1.3 million USD. So
You said you were on Shark Tank, Canadian version, US version, which one?
Shark Tank Vietnam, I was here, season 4. If you guys look it up on YouTube, I'm on season 4.
Wow, congratulations. How to market sustainable products to people? How do you market these sustainable products? And as someone mentioned, they're usually more expensive than traditional products made. And is that also going to go down to the point that it will be affordable to everyone?
Yeah, that is our plan. Our plan is to make our products affordable, but we first need scale. The biggest thing that we're competing against is plastic and paper, which have had, decades and centuries in market to be able to bring their price down. We're just asking basically for the same thing. Until then, in terms of price, we try to convince people based off of value. So the value is the fact that, so there's 2 ways you can sell people. It's really price or value. If you sell people based off of price, you will lose them based off of price. But if you sell them based off of value, you can lose them on value, but value is a lot harder for you to lose. So what we try to focus on is the fact that we're made in Vietnam or Southeast Asia. We have more products in terms of sustainable materials of anybody in the world. We can customize with in-house customization for anything you need on your design for your straw, your spoon. We have the latest innovation always. It's 100% compostable. So we kind of build everything on these value points that we would never change anyways. And we win customers based off of that, even though our products are more at a premium. I would say it's kind of like, think about Rolex or Chanel, right? They're not the cheapest, right? They're not the cheapest products, but people still keep coming back because they see the value in it. It says it's a status symbol. It's good quality. It says something about you, whatever it is. But those are all value things. So no matter what the price, Rolex can drop price, it can gain price, whatever else, people will still buy it, even though it's more expensive than anything else in the market.
What's the biggest mistake you ever made as an entrepreneur, and what did you learn from it?
The biggest mistake I made was trying to find co-founders. I think it's really hard to find co-founders. It's really, really hard. I think for a while I wanted co-founders and I tried to push for it so much that I brought on the wrong people. So I brought on like I didn't bring on them fully, but I basically almost brought on, but started working with a potential co-founder who ended up stealing money from our company. Then I worked with another potential co-founder who just was too lazy, didn't want to use Excel. And then I worked with another co-founder who turned out to have a criminal record. So that was the biggest mistake, was trying to find the co-founders. I just realized after a while that it's okay being a sole founder. If that's the way you start and it feels okay, then continue on. You are not forced to work with anybody if you don't want to. So.
Do you have an advisory board or board of directors?
I don't have one yet because we are still seed stage. In my next round that I'm raising, I plan to establish a board of directors, but it's right now just, if you were to count it, it would be myself and my lead investor. That's it.
And do you have any mentor that you talk to once a week, once a month, somebody that you talk to?
Yes. So my lead investor is my mentor. I speak to him every single week. We have meetings every single week on the business. So once a week. And then I also have some investors, but also friends outside. That there's that one guy who introduced me to the accelerator. I always come to him with any problems I have and any questions I have. And then I also have a WhatsApp group of 5 other female CEOs where we just kind of, sometimes we share things, sometimes we ask for help, sometimes we just complain about the industry. So.
And you say you get together with other CEOs and talk about common problems and so forth?
All the time. Yeah, we talk about common problems. And for those of you guys who don't know as well, like the startup community, the investor community, it's really small. So we also gossip. I mean, gossip for fun, right? We're all old now, but we all kind of gossip too. So be good if you're going to try to enter the entrepreneurship community. Have a good reputation.
The kinds of people that you look to hire, what's the profile that you've now learned work best for you and in your business?
Yes. For myself now, I don't really look at resumes at all. I haven't looked at resumes since like the 3rd hire, and now we're at 19 people. So no one really looks at resumes really anymore. What they're looking for is like, what's your attitude? Is your attitude, yes, I will support every single person. I won't talk bad about anybody. I'll I'm willing to jump in and do whatever. Then people will hire you based off of the attitude. So that's kind of the biggest thing I look for, is absolutely attitude and how well they fit with the team.
How much time do you focus building your personal brand compared to your business brand? Your corporate brand.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I've actually never tried to build a personal brand. I think it just came with Equo. Prior to that, I was a very private person, I would say. Even now, I'm quite a private person. I think everything's integrated with Equo primarily because I'm the founder. I mean, I've had some pretty cool opportunities. I went on like a dance show because they found me through Equo. But I don't spend any time actively trying to build my personal brand. Everything I do right now that I put out there, unless it's my Instagram, is for Equo. Everything's for Equo. Nothing is for myself.
One of the things that a lot of companies, I write a lot of business plans along with launching my own ventures, is they forget to develop a client retention strategy. What's your strategy to keep customers coming back? How do you interact with them? What do you do to make sure they keep coming back to your site and buy and refer you to others?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'll tell you about maybe 2 strategies that we implement, because there's a lot, but 2 primary ones that we implement is every single time we get a new customer, let's say in Ho Chi Minh, I send my creative team out to that customer. They take videos and photos, and then we create assets for them. So we create reels for them on Instagram, on TikTok, that they can use and that we can share, saying, hey, now you can find our products at them. They're a sustainable business. So that they really like that because, you know, we're helping them with content creation, sharing it with our own audience. That's one. The second thing is this year we created a nice little booklet saying, hey, here are all the benefits you get being an Equo customer. And with that booklet too, we send out information and all the sort of stuff. But with that booklet, we sent a gift box. And that gift box said, hey, welcome to the Equo community. Because we're not just a supplier, they're part of a community now with Equo. So we say, welcome to the community, here's our bag, here's a tote, here's like a water bottle, whatever else. And then we also give them a money tree. So like, I don't know what's called in Vietnamese, but we give them a money tree, and it's a baby money tree. And what we feel like is if we give this to them, they know that they can't throw this away because it's a money tree. If you throw it away, you're throwing away money. They have to grow this tree, and in order to grow this tree, they need to stay with us. So that's kind of the loyalty aspect, and that's worked pretty well so far.
It's a clever idea. Do you read any magazines or online blogs or listen to any podcast in business that you think people should listen to or read?
Well, to be honest with you, I get a lot of like my inspiration, little nuggets of it from like Instagram. So I like only use Instagram, barely TikTok or anything like that, but I use Instagram, and there's a lot of these business quotes or like inspirational like Instagram feeds, and I go on them. And so that's kind of a good inspiration. But there is one book that I read every single year. I always read it at least once or twice every single year. The same book. It's very short, but it's very like, it's great for like creativity and innovation. What is it called? Oh, geez. What is that book called? Oh yeah, okay. It's called, It's Not How Good You Are, It's How Good You Want to Be. It's by
Not how
Paul.
good you are, but how good you want to be.
Yeah, it's by Paul Cohen. So it's a great book. Again, it's very short. It has a lot of pictures, so it's really fun to read. And yeah, it's quite short. I read it at least 2 or 3 times. My entire team has read it as well. You can get it for free. You don't have to buy the book. It's there, the PDF online. Just search. Yeah, It's Not How Good You Are, It's How Good You Want to Be by Paul, Paul. PDF, free PDF. Just type that into Google and you can download it.
Awesome, awesome. That's all great. I think that may be a good way to end today. And I so thank you for your time. Does anybody else have any other questions you would like to ask? Well, I hope that if you ever come up to Hanoi, you let us know in advance so we can host you here. Because I'm sure the students would love to meet you.
Yes, I will definitely try to make my way up there. I think it's kind of getting colder now, so when it's warm, I'll come up for sure.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. And you've got a great story, and we look forward to following as you grow this company. We hope that the next round is much easier to raise than the prior round of money that you just raised.
I'm hoping so too. We're trying to raise in middle of next year, so hopefully we survive until then. So thank you so much for having me. All right.
Enjoy the rest of your day and have a great weekend. Thank you again.
Bye.